Hello everyone, I'm Eric from Edicute and today we're going to talk about teaching English in Vietnam. We've got a special guest with us with a lot of experience about teaching English in Vietnam, and we're going to ask her a lot of questions about moving and teaching, how do you do it, and what to expect when you get to Vietnam. Welcome Georgie, hi.
Hey, thanks
Okay.
for having me.
It's a pleasure having you here. Well, Georgie, I'm just going to interview you and ask you questions about Vietnam. So, first of all, can you please introduce yourself? Wait, give me a second. Cramp. I'm going to cut this. Don't worry, I'm just going to cut this out. I just had a cramp. Okay.
Oh, that's so annoying. Bad timing.
It's because I sit on the floor and usually I'm okay. Just came out of nowhere. Okay, let's just start from. Okay. Hello, Georgie. Can you please introduce yourself?
So my name's Georgie. I've been living and teaching abroad for the past nearly 9 years. A lot of that was in Vietnam. Vietnam is like my second home. And now I help people who want to get a quality TEFL qualification or who want help, assistance with moving abroad. And that can vary from me holding your hand every step of the way just to having some recommendations.
Okay, so first question. What do you need to move to Vietnam and teach English?
So I get really annoyed by the answers that you find online. So Vietnam is listed as one of the countries where you don't need a degree to work online. And this is true. You will get a job, but it probably won't be legal. So it depends whether you want to be working above board or below board. So you do need a degree to work in Vietnam. But if you don't have a degree and you're happy to come to Vietnam and just find a job and basically work on a tourist visa, then it is possible and a lot of people do it. However, since COVID, I feel like they've really had a crackdown. So it will be interesting to see how that kind of changes in the future. But I will keep you updated on what's going to be happening with that. You will also need a TEFL qualification, and the language centres that provide work permits and help you work legally before the pandemic wanted it to be face-to-face. Obviously, since COVID, everything's changed and a lot of people have just accepted that online is just going to be a thing. So if you're going to do an online course, make sure that it's accredited by somebody who, authoritative body. So, for example, a government organisation, something that's done by the Department of Education in whichever country you're doing it from.
Okay, yeah, that's a question I see a lot, is whether you need a degree to teach in Vietnam. So the answer is it's possible, but then it's technically going to be illegal because then you'll be on a tourist visa. You need a degree, a 4-year degree.
In England, it has to be a BA degree. So English degrees are only 3 years. So it doesn't have to be 4 years, but it has to be a bachelor's degree.
I see. Okay, so it needs to be a bachelor's degree, and in England you can do one in 3 years, but some degrees are 4 years. Okay, so what kind of schools are there? If you want to move to Vietnam, what type of schools will you be working in?
So basically, there's public schools, there's a few private schools, and then there's language centres and international schools. So I'll give you a very brief description. So if you want to work in an international school, that's where you need to have a lot more experience, and often they require you to have like an actual teaching license, so a PGC or a state license if it's American. The most popular ones are then language centres, and this is where you teach all different ages. So you might teach like on a Tuesday and a Thursday, the same class, and then a Wednesday and a Friday, a different class. And that's evenings and weekend work. And then you can teach in a public school. And again, normally you're actually going around lots of different schools and you see each class once a week. So there's a lot of moving around, but you don't have to teach evenings or weekends. So most people choose it on whether they are a morning person or an evening person and how much they want their weekend.
I see. Well, what about your experience? Where did you teach when you went to Vietnam?
So when I first started, I actually taught in a private school. So this was all in the same school, and I taught all ages from 2 to about 10 years old, because I taught in the primary school and also in a kindergarten. And then I left Vietnam and went traveling. And when I came back, I taught for a well-known company called ILA. So they're a private language center. And so that was evenings and weekends, and again, all ages. And then I left Vietnam, and then I came back, and then I taught for a private center that was like a business English center. So that was evenings and weekends, and that was really interesting. And I also did you can get a lot of private tuition in Vietnam, which is cash in hand and kind of pays better normally. And normally you have a lot smaller class sizes.
Okay, well, let's talk about pay. How much can you expect to get paid when you go to teach English in Vietnam?
Typically, I tell people it should be from $1,200 to $1,400, and then going up to about $1,600 to $1,800. You will see online it goes up to like $2,000, $2,500, but I like to be more realistic. A lot of places I'd say it's $1,200 to $1,800. You can be on the higher end, but that normally means you're working like 40 hours a week, for example, in a international school or a private school, and that's, you have to be there the whole time. Whereas in the language centers where the pay is lower, you're only teaching like 18 to 20 hours, and you only have to go in when you're teaching. So the pay does reflect how many hours you're doing, and you can get the higher pay, but I'd say it's a lot of like right place, right time.
I see. In Korea, your accommodation gets paid for. How about in Vietnam? Do you have to get your own accommodation? Does the school provide it?
Yeah, that's really not typical in Vietnam. As a general rule, if the school's offering you accommodation, you don't want to work for that school because they're doing it because they're not paying you as much and because no one else wants to work for them. And this normally happens in like the smaller cities, like further out. So sometimes they are legit and they're doing it as like an incentive to because most of the work in Vietnam is in Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh. So it's quite hard to get people out to the smaller cities. But in general, you'll get health insurance and that's about it. Typically, jobs in Vietnam don't come with huge benefits, but they should all pay for your work permit and all of those associated fees.
Okay, well, that's good. So health insurance, that's 100% health insurance that's being paid for by the school for you.
No, usually it's about 50%. So you get it, they sort it all out for you, and they take it out your pay. So you don't feel like you're paying for it, but it is taken out your pay, and they pay the other 50%.
I see.
But again, some of it is not totally inclusive. So I always say check out what you're actually getting, and then go and do your own research about what kind of health insurance you would want. So yeah, benefits isn't a huge thing in Vietnam. Most people come to Vietnam for the really low cost of living and relatively high wages because of the cost of living.
I see. Okay, well, that brings us to our next question, location. I've been to Ho Chi Minh before. I know Da Nang is also popular, and then obviously Hanoi. Where do most teachers go, and what would you suggest a new teacher do? Where should they move to, or what should they target?
Go to Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh. I get a lot of people that are like, oh, could I go and work in Da Nang, Hoi An, all these like beautiful places. And one, there's a lot less jobs there, although it is improving. There are more and more centres opening pre-COVID, but also all of the experienced teachers get those jobs. So if you're a brand new teacher, you're probably not going to get a job in one of those towns or cities. But if you want to try, go to the city and hand in CVs in person. A lot of the jobs, they'll ask you to do a demo. So you do have to be in the country, unless it's for some of the big language centres, and then you can get the jobs from abroad. But yeah, definitely Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh. There are some in the Mekong Delta where it's like kind of quieter. So what normally happens is you can apply for the big language centres, and then you can say, I want to go in a small town or city, and they'll show you all their small towns or cities. So then you still get a bit of a community because you're with all the other teachers from that language centre.
I think that's the other thing is community. I was impressed when I was in Ho Chi Minh with the community of foreigners coming together. It's a very interesting place. How is that in the cities? How can you make friends? What is a community like in Vietnam? How can you meet people once you get there?
If you're a girl, you have an advantage because there's two amazing Facebook pages. One of them is called Hanoi Beautiful, and that's for Hanoi. And one of them is called Fexpats, as in female expats. And that is amazing. So you can basically go on there and be like, hi, I'm feeling a bit lonely. Does anyone want to go for coffee? and you'll be inundated with girls that kind of want to meet up with you. But unfortunately, guys aren't allowed in either of those two groups. So that's one way if you're female. Another way is there's loads of, so much to get involved with in either of those cities. So I did swing dancing, which I've never done in my life, and I met loads of people there. I did rock climbing, met loads of people there. I tried Muay Thai, which I've never done in my life, met loads of people there. So I definitely think joining clubs and stuff, and again, go onto the Facebook pages. One of them is Hanoi Massive, and another one is, I think it's called Expats in Ho Chi Minh. Just a warning though, it comes with the usual trolls and people that think they know better, but just ignore that. They are pretty good if you want to say, what can I get involved with? What clubs are going on? Yeah, that. And then there's a lot of walking clubs. In Ho Chi Minh, there's something called La Holista, which is all about healthy eating, healthy food, and they organize monthly hikes. So I used to go on the hike, and you used to be able to go up the mountain from Ho Chi Minh, which was really beautiful. So yeah, get involved in all the social groups. You tend to find it can be, being completely honest, it can be a little bit cliquey. If you just go into a bar, you find that a lot of people have already got their friends, and they've already got their groups. So definitely joining clubs. If you join the clubs, they're very welcoming.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It sounds great that there are so many different things that you can get involved with, and that's the best way to meet friends. When you started talking about the cliques, here in South Korea, we've got ultimate frisbee, and it's great. I've never done it, but it's also, you form these groups in the different cities, and I always remember someone called it ultimate frisbee because it's everyone's just together. But it's great. You find something you're passionate about. It could be cooking, it could be swing dancing, and then you'll make some friends. The next thing is, let's say you're interested in going to Vietnam. How do you find a job? And the next question I'm going to ask after that is, how can you be the best possible candidate you can be? How can you stand out from the rest? So let's first start with, how do you find a job?
Pre-COVID, honestly, I don't know how it's going to work after COVID, but pre-COVID, there's two different ways. One way is you apply for the big language centres, which is a really good way if you're a new teacher. So some of the language centres that I'm partnered with, so there's ILA, there's Apollo, there is APAX, and there's Language Link. So they're the big four, and there's Wall Street English. So these are, big companies, big organisations. Some of them are global, for example, Wall Street English. Some of them are only for Vietnam, such as ILA. Apollo is linked with International House, so British Council linked for people that are into TEFL. They're kind of one of the places that people aim to be as a TEFL teacher. Sometimes you do get better deals when you're in the country. There's a website called The Works, and there's another one called Vietnam English Teaching Jobs, and both of these are really good for finding legitimate jobs. There's also lots of Facebook groups like Hanoi Teaching Jobs, Ho Chi Minh, English teachers in Ho Chi Minh, and lots of people post them more cash in hand, under the table,
I see.
kind of jobs, tutoring jobs.
Well, the thing is then, so you can try and find a job online, or you can go to Vietnam with a tourist visa, and then you search for a job. Maybe you get an Airbnb, or you find a place to stay for a couple of weeks, and then you search for a job, and then you move near to where you want to be, and you basically take care of it yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so basically after 3 months, you'd hopefully find the job, and you can work on the tourist visa for that 3 months. Then after that 3 months, hopefully you've signed a contract, and if they're doing it legitimately, they'll put you on to, you'll leave the country, you have to leave the country. Then you come back in on a business visa, which will be supplied for you by the school. And then the next 3 months, they'll ask you for all your documents. Legally, for the work permit, you need a clean police check from your home country, which needs to be notarized and legalized in your home country. Then you need a degree, which normally needs to be notarized and legalized in your home country. And then you need the TEFL, which needs to be notarized and legalized in your home country. And for those, if anyone thinks I'm speaking French, so notarized, you have to take your original certificate to a solicitor, and they make a copy and sign and say it's a genuine copy of the original. And then you have to send that in England, you send that to the legalization office in the UK to get it legalized. And then it gets sent to the embassy of whichever country you want to go and work in. So this would be the Vietnamese So it's a 3-step, very long, boring process. But there are companies that you can pay quite a bit of extra money to, and they just do it all for you as well. It depends.
Right. So we've got some companies in South Africa that do the same. But yeah, it's a process, but it's doable. That's the main thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so the next thing. You're interested, you've got your documents sorted, you understand everything. Now, how do you stand out from other candidates? If there's a job you want, what do you suggest someone do to stand out from their competitors?
Start with new teachers, because I help a lot of new teachers, and what they tend to do is just send me a CV that's like, I worked in sales, I did this, and they just list every job they've ever had that has absolutely nothing to do with teaching. Don't do that. First thing you want to do is have like a little personal profile at the top of your CV that's say 3 to 7, 8 sentences that talks about your personality, what you're looking to do. Talk about wanting to be there long term. So they like to see that teachers are committed. Talk about education. And in Vietnam, it's all teaching kids. So they want you to use words like engaging, interesting, interactive, student-centered. You've got to use all the buzzwords. They like buzzwords. So have that, and then have key achievements. And if you're a new teacher, you want to include transferable skills.
Right.
So good skills for teaching that they're looking for is going to be communication skills, organizational skills. If you've ever planned or prepared lessons or presentations. If you've never done lessons, you can say you've planned and prepared presentations, which is obviously similar skills to lesson planning. You talk about your personality, that you're very high energy. They love this word.
Work with kids before. I think whatever, if you've done anything working with kids, or just put it in there. Tutoring, whatever it might be.
Exactly. And honestly, be creative. be
like how you like, be creative. Yeah. Wink.
Be as creative as you want to be with your previous experience that you are comfortable with in terms of your experience and how far it could be stretched.
Yeah.
If you're a new
Just
teacher.
don't upload all the experience that has absolutely nothing to do with teaching.
It's completely pointless, and they don't care. And it's also kind of highlighting that it looks like you don't know what you need to do to
what you're there to do.
Like, I've had a job before. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And if you're obviously an experienced teacher, they're looking for different age levels, different levels from beginner to advanced, different topics. So if you've got IELTS, business English, that's kind of when you want to list everything to show the variety of experience that you've got.
Yeah, and what I also tell new teachers is, in the interview, you're going to list these skills that you have that are transferable, and you also want to come across as someone that is trustworthy, but also, that can form relationships and work well in the teaching environment, because nobody wants to work with someone they don't get along with. So you want to be more affable, I guess, and try and seem like a kind of person that isn't too strict or too single-minded. You want to be open to new experiences.
Yeah, definitely. I think flexibility, like I said, they like to have quite a bit of stuff on personality as well as just your experience.
Okay. Well, that's another question I wanted to ask is culture shock. It's a bit of a move away. What can they expect? So we've spoken about making friends with other foreigners, perhaps other teachers. What can they expect with regards to Vietnam in terms of culture shock?
So one of the biggest things I think is just knowing that you're going through it. So like if all of a sudden just like going to the bank seems like the biggest deal, and like, oh my gosh, I have to like take my washing down the road, and it starts like every day feeling a bit overwhelming, that's when you're in culture shock, and just go with it, just kind of accept. So I think the things people struggle with is the communication. Most people in Vietnam speak English, but to very different levels. And you'll sometimes feel like you're being understood, and then you're not, and then you'll say something, and then it's lost in translation, and this can get quite tiring. So again, my advice would be learn some of the language. That definitely helps. In general, in Vietnam, people, they have a thing, I don't know whether it's the same in Korea, but they don't like to lose face. So they would genuinely rather send you the wrong direction. They'd be like, oh, sorry, I don't know where that is. So that can get very annoying. And you'll notice that with emails and stuff, you'll keep asking and asking and asking, and you might just get ignored, or you'll send 4 questions and they'll answer 1 of them. And it's like, I sent 4. And so, communication is a big one. But also, I don't know what it's like in South Korea, but expats that have been there a long time tend to get into this bit of a Vietnam this, Vietnam that, and it can be very negative. Get out of that. Like, do not mix with those people. Mix with people that love Vietnamese, people that accept the culture. Go and make a list of all the things that you hate about your home country and why you left. And then, nowhere's perfect. And I think coming to Vietnam not to escape your problems and it to be this paradise, and any country is a massive one. Like, whatever problems you had at home, you're probably going to have them in Vietnam, or you're going to have similar problems, just different.
Okay. Well, what about language? What kind of tips do you have for, like, for using Vietnamese, or just maybe a couple of words that you think are very useful when living there?
My Vietnamese is atrocious, but I think being able to ask people how they are, it's quite complicated, because in Vietnam you address each person with a different word depending on how much older they are than you. So then that puts a lot of people off. But honestly, I found with my terrible Vietnamese, I'll say 2 words and they're like, ah! And they get so excited with my 2 words. So even if you're not really very good at it, so I would say em là giáo viên tiếng Anh, which is terribly pronounced, I'm an English teacher. And they're like, ah! And they get really excited. So learning the basics definitely helps. And if you sign up with the bigger language centers, they normally give you some free lessons. Definitely do that. And then there's loads of language exchanges that you can do. I'll be honest, most people don't. They come and they just don't bother. They're it's too hard.
It's unnecessary. I feel if you learn survival Vietnamese in Korea, it's the same. The majority of people just learn survival Korean. They learn how to read it, perhaps, and how to ask how much is it, where is the bathroom, things like that. Just survival phrases. And you'll be fine. And it's because it's unnecessary, and you're not sure. Most people aren't sure how long they're going to stay in the country, so you don't feel the need to learn the language.
Everybody in Vietnam knows how to say all the food. They know pork, chicken, all of that.
Let's talk about
the big one.
Let's talk about the food quickly. What are some popular dishes? Okay. What would you suggest someone try if they went to Vietnam?
Okay, so there's bún chả, which is basically burger pates that you have with cold noodles and this delicious sauce, and you dip it in and you add herbs. There's bang quan, which is a rice paper roll that's rolled up with mushrooms and pork inside, and you dip that again into a sauce. And obviously there's pho, which is the noodle soup, the very famous noodle soup. You can get that as beef or chicken.
So it's pho. It's not pork. It's pho.
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't want to sound condescending, but it's pho, and everyone's, there's pho, there's a whole load of, you can tell when someone's new to Vietnam, because we're it's not what you say.
Okay, so it's not pork, it's pho. I learned something new today. What are some things that you suggest people do? For example, we're talking about the food, some experiences, joining clubs. What else do you think is on your list to do when you go to Vietnam?
Oh dear, I have such a big list. Okay,
top 3.
How could I? Okay, okay. Mai Cho is about 4-hour drive from Hanoi. If you can do it by motorbike, okay, so number 1, get a motorbike and do the motorbike trip from Hanoi down to Ho Chi Minh, whether you do it when you arrive or once, I did it after I'd been there a year. It was, to this day, the best thing I've done in my whole entire life. It was phenomenal. So learn to ride a bike and do that. Then go to Mai Cho, which is a smaller version of Sapa. Sapa's also amazing, but it's rice fields on a really big scale up in the north. And Mai Cho, so Sapa is all mountains, whereas Mai Cho is valleys. So you get the flat with the mountains either side of it, and it's really quiet. and it's really, really beautiful. And again, it's one of the first places I went 8.5 years ago, and I fell in love with it. And then the Mekong Delta, right down in the south. So when my family came to visit, which, by the way, is, again, one of the best experiences of my life, is when people come over and you show them this, like, whole new life that you've had. And we did a boat tour up the Mekong Delta through Vietnam and then into Cambodia. Honestly, it was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible.
One of the things I want to ask you is, so we've been talking about how to get a job pre-COVID. I heard that Vietnam might open up some islands, but what can someone expect if they wanted to go to Vietnam now during COVID? How does that work?
It's not the best time to come, to be honest. So the way it works is only the language centres that aren't able to source teachers from within Vietnam are having to source them out of Vietnam. Without offending anyone, a lot of the places that are inviting you in aren't the best places to work for, and there's still I think it's about 1,500 quarantine fee, which most of the language centres are putting on to the teacher, and I think it's, off the top of my head, 2 weeks quarantine now. And at the moment, all the teaching in Vietnam is still online. Phu Quoc is where I lived for the past year. It's amazing. Go to Phu Quoc. It's phenomenal. But again, there's no work there. So you'd go as an online teacher. So one thing you could do is when Phu Quoc opened, go as a tourist for a month, or I don't know whether you'll be able to extend your visa. It's all very up in the air. But go for a month and teach online if you're already an online teacher, just to experience Vietnam. And then obviously Phu Quoc has all the food and the culture as well. They're looking at opening sometime between January 2022 and June 2022. Honestly, I think it's going to be June 2022, but other people will tell you otherwise. But maybe I'm a pessimist. But I think it's going to be
on the side of caution. That's what you're saying. Is there anything different that you think might be useful? Items?
Stickers. So kids love stickers, and if you're gonna go, like, you can order like really cool stickers online. In England you can for like nothing, and in Vietnam they have stickers, but everyone uses the same stickers. So if you turn up as the new teacher with like cool stickers, then you're kind of like instantly in there. So my top tip to teachers is stickers.
Wow.
And they love it. And honestly, I've seen kids nearly punch each other in the face for stickers. Like, I don't, like, they love stickers.
Especially if they're different from the ones that you get in
Exactly.
Vietnam. Okay, so Georgie, you're the owner of Teacher's Friend. What can you tell us about it, and how does Teacher Friend help teachers out there that want to move to Vietnam?
So the first thing we do is we offer a government-accredited TEFL course. It's accredited by the Australian government, and this includes the international standards. So it's at least 120 hours. It includes at least 6 hours of observed teaching practice, and it's government accredited, so it meets obviously educational standards. And I also am offering these courses in other countries now. So we offer these now in Thailand, Costa Rica, and Barcelona. And the second thing that I do is, if you are the kind of person that are like, I know I can watch YouTube, I know I can go online, but it's just not enough. I was that person. So I paid for a full relocation package where they helped me get a job and they helped me get accommodation. And I think it's a personality thing. I just needed someone to know I had somebody when I got there. So I offer that service. But as well as that, we, compared to other companies, we also offer assistance with teaching. So once you get in the country, you will get one-to-one support with planning lessons and any problems that you have with teaching. We also do the social side. So I really like people to get involved. So, for example, you'll get 3 days to go away, paid for, and the accommodation will be paid for to go away. That can be when you first get to Vietnam or once you're like a little bit settled. And so we deal with all of like the cultural stuff. We arrange like meetups. So I pay for you to go out and do a social activity of your choice once a month. So we do the logistical side, but I guess that's what everybody does. They all help with the documents, moving abroad, getting the job, getting the accommodation. But on top of that, we do, so the social side, the cultural side, which is where you can go away and do the trips, and then also the teaching side, because I feel like there's not really much going on for teachers. They kind of get dropped, even when they've paid quite a lot of money for like a full relocation program. So we do like a 15-minute call one-to-one every week, and also obviously email communication where you get that extra lesson planning support, which I feel like is missing from a lot of packages.
Okay, so it's all about supporting teachers that want to move to Vietnam. So you help them with the TEFL they need, and the TEFL, it's once they get to Vietnam, or is it all in these different countries, or is it online?
So it's not. It was just in Vietnam, and now we've expanded to offer the same in other countries. And so you can do the TEFL in Cambodia, Vietnam once the borders open, or right now you can do a TEFL in Thailand, Costa Rica, or Barcelona.
Okay.
And then we help you get the job, whether you've paid for the full relocation or not. And then we also, if you wanted to do both, we do full relocation packages. And right now you can go to Thailand or South Korea. And we're hoping Cambodia is going to open in June 2022. But Vietnam is not happening at the moment because the borders aren't open.
Okay, if somebody watches this video a year from now and videos are Vietnam's open, then that's a different story. We don't know. This video will be out, so we never know. But yeah, that sounds excellent, especially for someone who wants that support and that safety net. You help them with teaching, you help support them with the cultural side and also the social side. Okay, Georgie.
I mean, we're called Teacher's Friend because I want to be people's friend, and I actually stay in touch with pretty much all my teachers. So it's not just like a drop you and leave you kind of thing.
Wow, it does sound amazing. And you seem like the type of person to make a lot of friends and to be very helpful to those teachers out there. Well, Georgie, you taught me a lot about going and teaching English in Vietnam. Any final words of wisdom for teachers that want to move and settle in Vietnam to teach English?
Say, do your research. Make sure you go with, you listen to people like you or people that have actually been there, experienced it, and have a genuine interest, not in profit, but in you having the best time that you can have. And double check, or like things like accreditation, things like that. Make sure you know what you're doing.
Moving to a new country can feel like a daunting experience. It's very new, it's very strange, but it can also be a great experience, a great learning experience, not just of the country, but of yourself too, growing as an individual. Well, Georgie, thank you so much for helping us and for helping the teachers out there. I'll link Teacher's Friend in the description below if you want to reach out to Georgie and get some more advice or work with the TEFL or get the relocation service. She'll be down there. Georgie, final words. Thank you so much. I hope you have a pleasant day and speak to you soon.
Great. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.